I just threw my hair up. Okay, I'm just going on YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Sorry, my hair's all bumpy. While we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. Dana or Dana, I've seen you before. I haven't seen you. I've just seen your name. Okay. Okay, where are you from? I don't think I was on here yesterday, was I? I think, yeah, I was. I did a live yesterday too. Texas, Central Oklahoma, Georgia. Few of my clients are Southern. I love that accent. You just always sound fun. You always sound fun and cute. Okay. So where are you from? I'm in Vancouver, Canada, by the way. Where are you from? I'm just getting all set up here. I'm tired. I just had a sleepy Saturday. Just tired today. Don't know why. Don't need a reason, I guess. Just sometimes you have days where you're just lower energy than others. Okay. Where are you from? Always interested to hear where people are from. I've discovered some new countries by doing these lives. Well, I didn't discover them. They were already discovered, but I've heard ones that I've never even heard of. I'll be back in 1 second, then I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. I had to check my teeth because I just had some beets. So, YouTube would have seen me checking. I thought, do I have beets in my teeth? That's not a good look. Okay, I love pickled beets. It's like, I love anything pickled. I just love. So I was eating some pickled beets. How exciting is my life? Okay, where are you from while we're waiting for people to turn up? It's summer, so it's always, never know how many people are going to turn up. Massachusetts. What does half days mean? New Hampshire. What? New Hampshire, right. Oh, you're a New Hampshireite, but you're in New Hampshire. Am I right? Jersey, Kentucky. Pennsylvania, Kentucky. Ontario, hi, fellow Canadian. Indiana, Hampshire. Okay, well, let's get going now. Kylie, Texas. I got to get to Texas. I don't know why, but Texas has been calling my name for a while now. Illinois. I don't know anyone in Texas, but I just want to go there. California. Been to California many times. Okay, so I was just going to say, where are you from? What I meant to say was, if you go in my link above, you can see everything I've got to offer. It's all in bullet point form. Bullet point form above. My daughter did that for me. It's just so much easier. Hi, Dallas. So yeah, you can buy one of my courses, hire me for coaching, or download my free behavior board. You're on that too. That's what makes it different. That's what makes it work, because you got to give respect to get it. That'll take you right through the teen years. But it doesn't start till 3. Okay, so parenting questions. Thanks for your support, Kelly. I appreciate it. I've just been really sleepy in the afternoons lately. I think because I'm doing a lot more at the gyms these days. I've been going to the gym really early and wearing myself out. You get older, you just wear out quicker. Okay, so parenting questions. Do you have any? How many? I've got 68 people here. Usually picks up as we go along. So parenting questions. I found since going on TikTok, I get a lot of toddler parents on here. Used to be more older kids because I do specialize in teenagers, but obviously I help parents with all ages. But yeah, a lot more toddler than anything else on TikTok. So recommendations for preteens who still throw tantrums. I'm an older sister, not a parent. I can't give you advice because I only give parenting advice. But yeah, if they're still having tantrums as a preteen, it's a parenting issue. It's a lack of leadership. So unless there's something medical issue going on or some bullying or something extracurricular going on that I don't know about, if it's just in the home causing the problems, it's just the parents have to work on their leadership skills. I was going to go on about that, but you're the sister, so I can't go on too much. But yeah. If your parents want my advice, they can hire me to help them through that. But yeah, generally tantrums stop at about 3.5 or 4. generally. Teens that don't want to clean up after themselves. That is the definition of a teenager, isn't it? So yeah, just have a consequence. We all learn through consequences. Like, would we ever pay rent or mortgage, or would we ever stop speeding if there was never any consequences? We're going to get kicked out of our homes if we don't pay for them. We're going to get a speeding ticket if we speed. Not every time, but you know what I'm saying. There's a chance. So yeah, it's all about consequences. So if they don't clean up their room, then there has to be a consequence. But teenagers, you have to negotiate with them. You say something like this: look, I want you to be very specific, by the way. I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. That's the rule I want on the, call it an accountability chart. When you've got teenagers, don't call it a behavior board, but it's up there. It's free. It's up above there. And then you say, now, what do you want from me? What do you want me to start doing or stop doing? A teenager will usually say, get off my back. I would say something like this: well, I don't know if that's possible. Let's work our way up to that. So let's start smaller. So yeah, start the negotiations. Toddler mom here. Yeah, most on TikTok are toddler moms. LOL bed. Did I say something about bed? Sometimes people will go LOL and it's something I've said, and I'm like, did I say something funny? Like, and then I'll go, oh yeah, I did say something kind of funny. But everything's sort of a delayed reaction on here. She lies about everything, even when she gets caught. How old? 16, 6, 2, well, 3, 4. Okay, so how old is the liar? Just like, I gotta check. Let's Black Rose. Okay, just so I know. Okay, 6-year-old that feels not liked by peers and talks about not wanting to stay alive. That is a coaching issue. I can't address that here, because for a 6-year-old to talk like that, I would need to assess it. I don't take that lightly. I'm not saying they're going to do anything about it, but it's not something I can give a glib TikTok answer to. If you want my help, you're going to have to hire me for that. So that's above if you're interested. But I can't. As soon as you say something like that, that's coaching. That's that next level stuff. So. Okay, 2-year-old hits and all that. I have a mini course on that, and it's toddlers who hit, bite, etc. And it just explains that toddlers under the age of 3, they can't. You don't reason with them. It's not words, and even older, it's not usually words. It's actions, right? It's consequences. So, but the consequences with toddlers, that is under 3, are consistent corrective actions. They're not words; they're actions, and it has to be consistent. They learn through repetition. They don't learn through thinking it through. They don't tend to think before they act. And also, they go through stages all the time. Just when you think you've got your toddler figured out, they're going to change on you. So, yeah, toddlers are crazy. They're just forming. They're brand new, fresh human beings. So, toddlers are never the problem. It's your assessment of them is the problem. Your lack of understanding about the fact that they're brand new, fresh human beings. They're going to do stuff. They're going to smear poop on the wall. To them, that's normal. They don't all do that, but some of them hit, some of them kick, some of them smear poop on the wall, some of them tantrum. They're just toddlers. They don't make any sense because they don't have sense yet. So. Oh, you're asking too much here. It's too many things going on. Any advice to help an 8-year-old stepson who misbehaves with his mother and at school but is great with us? Too many things going on. You have to hire me to put all the pieces to the puzzle together and figure it out. Oh, she's a 6-year-old liar. Okay, put down no lying on the behavior board and just call it. Say, I've decided that's a lie. I wasn't lying. I don't care. I've decided that's a lie. Because I'll say no lying. I will decide when lying happens. So then just have a consequence. Every time she lies is a consequence. See how that goes. It says to me she would have got away with it in the past. And don't be worried about making a mistake. Even if she isn't lying that particular time, she's probably lied enough in the past. So don't worry about it. Just call it. Say, you know what? I'm calling it a lie. I'm going to make that call. I'm going to say you're lying. But I'm not. I said, I've decided that's a law. That's a lie. And there's going to be a consequence for that. Just call it. Be very, very confident when you say that. She's sneaky. Yeah, but you're an adult. She's only 6. Figure it out. Like, what I mean is figure out when she's lying. Also pay attention to your body language too. She could be scared of the reaction. I didn't pick up on that. What they do is if they do something wrong, then they lie about it because they're afraid of your reaction. I didn't get that vibe from the question. I didn't pick up on that. I could be wrong, but yeah, it didn't sound like it to me. Okay. 4-year-old's perfect for everyone but me and dad. Not sure how to handle his outbursts. Well, that's just, he knows that they're not going to work with other people. By 4 years old, they figured that out. He only does it with you because he thinks it's going to work with you. Right? Does that make sense? At 4, they kind of only do what works. So he knows it's not going to work with anyone else. 13-month-old who screams all day, they get over it. Just ignore it. Whenever they start screaming, just look away. Like real calm, slow and calm. Don't say anything. Just look away. They generally do that for attention. And if it doesn't get attention, they're not going to learn the first 20 times, probably the first 50 or 100 times you do that. 3.5-year-old always wants me to carry him down the stairs, otherwise cries at the top. Well, why are you carrying him? Is he unable to walk down the stairs? I just wouldn't do it. Like his crying makes you carry him, whereas that wouldn't make me carry him. Do you know what I mean? Unless he's physically has a disability or something, then I might consider doing it. But yeah, if he's physically able, I just wouldn't. Make it fun. Carrying down the stairs. I don't know. I don't always do that. I wouldn't do it in that situation. No, I wouldn't. Sometimes I do with little ones, but no, I wouldn't do it in that situation. Just sounds like manipulation to me. I don't try and make it fun. I don't reward manipulation with fun. So it's not a bad ploy, but I don't do that. Yeah, make walking down the stairs fun. I just wouldn't in that situation. I don't know why. I just wouldn't. Yeah, I won't go on about that. But I know exactly what I'm thinking, but it's just too big of a speech. I couldn't be bothered right now. I have to rev up before I give my speeches. Okay, I have a little mini course on toddlers who hit. I have tons of videos on that on here too, on TikTok. And yeah, toddlers who hit. They just do. Some of them do, some of them don't. Yeah, a lot of this, when you ask me questions about they're acting out, they're screaming all the time, I assume you're meeting their needs first because the screaming is usually about their wants. So I'm assuming that they're fed, they've had enough sleep, they're not freezing cold. You know what I'm saying? I'm assuming you're meeting their needs because we meet their needs and we manage their wants. Their needs are food, clothing, fun, love, and all that stuff. And their wants are, no, I want that candy and I want it now. You see, that the discipline is the wants. So I'm assuming you're already meeting their needs. So, someone just said, well, maybe they're tired or hungry, but yeah, I'm assuming they've already been fed and they've had enough sleep. Is timeout too soon for 15-month-old? I hate timeout. I don't do it ever with any age. I can't stand it. I think it's mean and humiliating. So I wouldn't do it. No. It would be like if you had a boss and you made a mistake and he put you in a corner, how would that make you feel? It's no different for kids. It's humiliating. It's degrading. It's awful. I hate timeout. I guess you figured out I don't like timeout. Yeah, I don't like it. Stuttering for a almost 3-year-old, how to handle stuttering. Is it true stuttering or just not saying their words properly yet? Instead of timeout, do everything else I talk about here. With little ones, it's consistent corrective actions under the age of 3 and over. It's the behavior board, which is free up there. Stuttering. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but I would say that would be, okay. Well, the thing with stuttering is no one really knows what causes it. It can be, they say more, it's more likely psychological. But at 2, it's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a professional with stuttering, so I don't quite know what to do about that. I would be more likely to go to a speech pathologist. What a word to get my words mixed up on. I'd be more likely to do that and see what they say. Never had the issue. I want this. What do I do? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'd go a speech pathologist. That's not my area, you know. Okay, it's so hard to distinguish a need versus a want, at least for me. Oh, that's my specialty. uh, yeah. Well, the thing is that their needs are so many, there's so few of them that are true needs that parents think that, well, he does need the iPad for at least an hour a day. No, he never needs an iPad. You know, needs are food, water, love, fun, safety, um, sleep. You know, it really is basic stuff. The rest of it is wants. So 19-month-old keeps hitting. I have a mini course on that. It's a big common problem. That's why I did a mini course on that if you're interested. It's just consistent corrective action. Every time they throw something, put it away where they can see it and not touch it. Just say one word, no. None of these mini therapy sessions discussing things. That's just garbage. It's for you. It's not for your toddler. It's absolutely ridiculous. I know it's trendy right now, but it's absolute garbage. Yeah, I would be very careful taking advice on stuttering with, like you mentioned, heavy metals and that. That's unless you're a professional on that. I would go to a doctor about that. I wouldn't. There's a lot of ideas out there. Everyone's an expert on certain things. One of them is veganism. I'm a vegan. I hate other vegans. They drive me insane. They're all like a bunch of self-righteous hoo-has. Like to me, I just do it because I like it. But they're all professionals on food and longevity. That's why vegans get such a bad name. They all seem to know a lot about medicine and longevity and health and vitality and get off your high horse. I'm not saying you're like that, but yeah, I take medical advice from doctors, and I take you know what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I'd be very careful, very very careful with that stuff. Hitting you, same thing. Just say no and walk away. Take their hand away, walk away. Same thing. Remove them, remove the fun, remove you, remove. Yeah, it's removing. It's an action. And just say one word, say no. You're going to have to do it about 100 times before they even start to learn. Like, it's just the way they are. Preteen behavior for 10-year-old. Well, preteens and tweens are 9 to 12. So I don't know what is your question there. 15-month-old biting me, same thing. Just say no and then remove yourself. Every time their head goes to bite, you say no. I'd push their forehead away and just walk away. You're not beating them up. You're just pushing them back so they understand no biting. They'll eventually learn. They're not going to like it, but they'll eventually learn. I remember both my kids bit my boob during breastfeeding. They're going to try that. They get teeth coming in and they bite, and I screamed both times and they never did it again. I didn't scream in anger. I screamed in agony. Like, it hurt. I mean, I got like red bleeding teeth marks. And, but yeah, they never did it again. I'm not saying you should scream at your kids, but that's the only thing I ever did that just was like magic right away. Whining, I just ignore whining. There you go. But then he makes the saddest face and I feel the worst parent. He's going, so what if he makes a sad face? So he's totally in charge. Totally in charge. I'm sad because I'm not getting my own way. Well, that's too bad. Wouldn't bother me at all. This is the pleaser parent style that's out right now. It's you want them to like you. Like, yeah, it's really trendy right now that they like you. I'd rather focus more on raising good kids than worry about how they feel about me. But yeah, when you're a really good leader, they're crazy about you anyway. You're best friends. But yeah, I teach leadership. I don't worry. If I do the right thing and I correct their bad behavior, I could care less what kind of face they put on. That's on you. That's none of my business. That's them processing, not being able to be mean or not being able to do the wrong thing. You know what I mean? Like that's their own learning process. I've had friends when our kids were growing up who their kids would do something awful and then they'd cry and crawl into the mom's lap and then she'd give them what they were crying over in the first place. And I'm like, they couldn't figure out why they had no respect. What's your take on soft parenting? I have no idea what that is. I've never even heard of it. By the way, I only teach what I know. I don't critique other methods. I critique certain things that are done, but I don't know what method they're called. I stay out of that completely. The pleaser parent, that umbrella is a whole bunch of different styles that are out right now. And they're all about the pleaser parent. There's the old-fashioned authority, my way or the highway. With that, you tend to build teenagers who resent you, but they come out the other end fine and they respect you for it. The pleaser parent, which is the style, the trend right now, parents who want to be liked, they roll out the red carpet, they like participation awards. Geez, stupidest thing I ever heard of. I remember when those first came out, I thought, are you freaking kidding me? Anyway, they tend to raise teenagers who wipe their feet on them and never appreciate them. So they also tend to raise self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. So err on the side of the authority if you're going to do either one of those. But I don't do either. I'm leader. I teach leadership. It's more like a sports coach. You're fun, but you have rules. And if they break the rules, you sit in the bench for an inning. No big deal. It's no big deal. Then they come back in and you're their leader. You're guiding them. You're on their team. You're helping them out. You want to bring out the best in your kids. You don't give in to all that manipulation stuff. And you could care less what they think of you. If you know you're doing the right thing and you're raising good kids, that's all you should focus on. They will look up to you. They'll want to please you. And when they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint you. And they're going to tell you everything because you're a safe place to land. When you're a leader, they tell you everything. You're easy to talk to and you can't be manipulated. They don't respect you. If they're manipulating you, they have no respect for you. None. If I tried to manipulate my mother, she would have looked at me like this. Are you kidding me with this? I would have been embarrassed. I would have, like, just the thought of it. So yeah, and my kids were the same. It was like, they wouldn't have tried to manipulate me. They would have been embarrassed because they respected me. Okay, your kids are 2 and 4. Well, the 2-year-old's just toddler. It doesn't count. Already doesn't listen to a word I say. I ask, how do I change it? 4. Okay, 4-year-old, use the behavior board. I have a whole course on this if you're interested, how to get respect. And it's up and everything's up in the link above there. And it teaches you how to give respect to get it. And it's doable. Anyone can learn this stuff. It takes about 5 weeks, that course. But don't rush it. You can stretch it out by a week or 2, but do not rush it. Do not go to week 4 and start there. Everyone wants to be in week 4 and week 5. You have to do the first 3 weeks. You'll see. Anyway, I do have clients who have done week 4 first, and they say, yeah, that didn't work. Sometimes I feel mean. You feel mean raising nice children? Why? But in the end, I know I'm doing right. Why do you feel mean raising nice human beings? I've never understood. I have zero guilt. If I'm raising nice human beings, I'm proud. I am like all over that. Where's the guilt? Why would you feel guilty for raising nice people? Where's the guilt in that? I've never understood that. I know it's common. Like a lot of my clients are guilt-ridden because they're the pleaser parents. They want their kids to like them. What's your approach on children being bullied at school? I don't have an approach. I wasn't bullied. My kids weren't bullied. We both had leaders as parents, and we all had leaders, I mean. And yeah, I was never bullied or anything. So I do have a whole process on how we deal with that. But when you're a good leader and here's the thing, when you're a really good leader at home, your children just have a different level of confidence. They're not susceptible to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're just not susceptible to outside influences. They just have this inner confidence about them. They know how to handle things. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. They're much less likely to be bullied at school or anywhere else. I remember, I'll tell you my bullying story. I was in grade 2. It was the only time anyone ever tried to bully me. And I was in the hallway alone because I had to go pee in the middle of class. And it was a big deal. Grade 2, the hallway was empty. I mean, I'd never been out in an empty hallway at school before. But coming down the hallway, it was me and the grade 5 bully. He was the school bully. He was in grade 5. I was in grade 2. My last name at the time was Hanky. And he came up to me and I was shaking. Like he came up to me and he goes, Hanky Panky. And I said to him, I prefer Snot Rag and Boogie Bundle. Oh, well, got to get back to class. He never came near me again. What would be the point? You don't show fear. What I had done was I had agreed with him, made light of it, and then given him an out. And then I said, oh, better get back to class. If I just stood there after saying that, I prefer Snot Rag and Boogie Bundle, he would have kept coming at me. I don't know how I knew to do that. I don't know. Maybe my mom told me, or I don't know. But that's what I teach. You agree with the bully, make light of it, and then say, oh, what do you got for lunch? You change the subject. Give them an out. Let them save face. But yeah, no one ever came near me. Why do you talk about trends negatively but admit no science-based education? I'm not for you. Move on. I'm all experience-based. I'm never going to be for you. And you're never going to be for me. That's just the way it is. So just move on. I'll never get into an argument. So I don't want to waste my time. Plus, I serve my audience. You're not my audience, obviously. Okay. I don't understand that one. I don't understand. Open, shut every door and do the lights, but cries if you do. I don't know what you mean by that, Tiffany. Huh. Okay. My preschooler is very emotional. A preschool to me is 3 and 4-year-old, I'm guessing. Do I treat it like a tantrum? When do I comfort? Okay. Emotions tend to be regulated when a child has a leader as a parent. They just feel more calm, more comfortable, more confident. They don't tend to be like this. They just tend to be more like that. So work on your leadership skills. So, and I don't know, do I treat it like a tantrum? No, tantrums are not emotions. Tantrums are a loss of control at not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it. They're different. So I don't know what you mean by very emotional. Are they only emotional when they're not getting their own way? So I don't know. It could be a million different things going on there. But yeah, work on your leadership skills. It regulates them. They just feel safer. Oh, my daughter just texted me, her friend's water just broke. She's overdue. You didn't need to know that. Doesn't matter. If she knows on lives, I just let everything fly. She said, you didn't talk about that, did you? Yeah, I did. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Okay. I just have a question about give respect to get it. When I'm calm and he still acts up, 9-year-old. Yeah. Do you have the whole picture? Like what I mean is it's not just about being calm. You've got to address bad behavior. You also have to learn to get into their world, connect with them on their level, understand where they're coming from, get to know your individual kid because they're all individuals. So yeah, it's not just about being calm. I talk about calm leadership. You're only calm when you're disciplining. The rest of the time you can be crazy and fun and best friends with your kids, which is what I was. But when I'm disciplining, it's like this. Didn't like that. I'll tell you what, here's going to be the consequence. So it was like, that's the calm leadership. So yeah, it's not just that. It's part of it, but that's what people ask me about all the time. I don't talk a lot about my experience with my kids. I got respect when they were tiny and sailed right through the teen years. We were just laughing all the time. They were self-disciplining because I was a leader right from day one. So I maintained respect and it was mutual. If they didn't like what I was doing, they would tell me. Believe me, they would tell me. So, and then I'd go, yeah, you're right. I was a bit of a nuisance right then. Okay, what can I do to make it up to you? That's how we operated. So anyway, yeah, it's not just about being calm. It's a whole thing. If you want to learn the whole package, I do have a course on that, or you can hire me for coaching. It's a whole process of learning how to do it. What would be the best response when toward a 7-year-old testing boundaries constantly? Well, why would they start at 7? That doesn't make any sense to me. They usually, if they're going to start, it usually starts at 3 or around 9 to 12. Why at 7? That's an unusual age for them to start testing boundaries. So I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, it's just, that's unusual. Okay, someone on YouTube has a question. My 5-year-old girl likes to make up her own stories and lie. We have a 7-year-old boy that will tell us about something that happened at school. My daughter will also tell us, but that's so cute. Um, anyway, yeah, just put down no lying on the behavior board. My behavior board is free. You can check it out. If you're on TikTok, it's in the link above, and I think down on YouTube that's down there. Anyway, I should look at that YouTube description. I never do. I film my lives on YouTube just to save them on here. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand YouTube. I love YouTube, but I just don't understand it. I don't understand TikTok either. Anyway, I'm just here. But yeah, put on the behavior board, no lying. Just put, and every time you catch her in a lie, say, oh, that was a lie. Don't make a big deal out of it. We don't want to shame our children. We just deal with bad stuff, right? If they're doing something naughty, just say, ah, that was bad. Okay, here's a consequence. It's no big deal. Do you like Super Nanny? I only watched her once because, and I don't critique other people who teach. I know a whole bunch of people out there are critiquing me all the time, and they've helped grow my channel, actually. They were doing duets with me, cutting me down, and they helped grow my channel. They don't do it anymore. I miss that. Anyway, yeah, I don't critique other people. The only reason I've seen her show was because I was offered to do, they said, it's like the Super Nanny, but with teenagers. So I looked at her show back then. She is not a parent, for one thing, so she only deals with young children, but she knows what she's doing. She has a very different style for me. Yeah, she has a very different style, but she knows what she's doing. It's like diets. There's lots of different diets that can work, but you can't mix them up. You can't take different methods from different styles or different people and mix them up into a mixture, a recipe that you like. It doesn't work that way. It's like dieting. You got to use it all in one go. Yeah, she knows it. She knows how to get respect. She knows what she's doing. But she works with little kids, and she's not a mom. You know, I specialize in the teen years, and I work my way down. I'm always aiming for those teen years to be a piece of cake for you. That's my goal with all my clients, is to get you through those teenage years, because that's my favorite age. And that can be the most challenging. Thank you. Okay. That's actually really cute. I tend to use a lot of sarcasm with my own kids. I don't talk a lot about my own personal style, but if my younger one had lied because her brother had a really interesting story happened at school and she lied and said it happened to her, I'd go, did it? You know what happened to me too? My daughter would have gone, oh, never mind. But you can't always do that. If that's not your style, you can't do that. Why is nap or bedtime always a fight with my 3-year-old? I don't know. And by the way, naps at a 3-year-old they just might not need naps. Maybe they don't need all that sleep. Maybe you're forcing it on them just because you need them to sleep. So my kids both stopped regular naps at 12 months old. They had accidental naps, but they stopped regular naps at 12 months old. They don't all need as much sleep as you think they do. Some of them do, some of them don't. It's like adults. Some of us need more sleep than others. Do you do parent coaching through Zoom? Yes, I do. Yeah. You know, back in the day, I've been doing this for 17 years now. Back in the day, I did it on Skype. And it, boop, boop, boop. Remember that? No one knew how to use it. It was more about coaching them how to use Skype than it was coaching them on parenting. It was agony. And then the pandemic happened. Now everyone knows how to do Zoom. It's fantastic. So I'm not glad that the pandemic happened, but yeah, it's a lot easier. What are your key highlights for teens, or same for all ages? Thank you. Well, teenagers, I always say there's two most important parenting skills with teenagers is listening to understand and show empathy, not sympathy. You listen to understand, to show understanding and empathy. Okay. Then you stop talking. Don't give advice. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. They won't talk to you. They're going to shut you down. But if they want your advice, they're going to ask. They already know it anyway. Don't you think they already know your advice anyway? And if my kids came to me with a problem from the time they were little, my mom did this. She always said, well, you're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And then we'd talk about it. I always thought I was solving all my own problems. My mom was there guiding me behind the scenes. But yeah, she never told me what to do. Like I never told my kids what to do. So yeah, none of this telling them what to do. And then the number 2 most important skill with parenting teenagers is negotiating. That's not with younger children, with little children at all. But with teenagers, say something like this. Use the behavior board, call it an accountability chart. You're on there too. And you say, okay, your rule, I want to be put your dirty clothes in the hamper and nowhere else, which means they can't lay on the floor all day, then go in the hamper at the end of the day. So then say to them, that's what I want your rule to be. Now, what do you want from me? So you see, negotiate everything and give them a voice. You start small and you work up. You discipline young children to get respect. You get respect before you discipline teenagers. Parents who hire me for teenagers are often quite frustrated in the first session because they want to address, well, they're going out, sneaking out at night, driving, doing drugs, and having, sex all the time. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's work on the laundry. And they're like, what? That's not what and I say, yeah, you got to work towards that. You got to build the relationship up first. So yeah, that's my favorite age. I love teenagers. I find them fascinating. You're never going to outsmart a teenager. It's not what it's about. It's about knowing when to let the small stuff go and save all your energy for the big stuff. And even then, you got to tread very carefully and know when to walk away. Don't say something like, if they're mad at you, you never get into an argument with a teenager. If they're mad at you, you say something like this: I'll tell you what, let's discuss it later. You never say, we'll discuss it when you've calmed down. Good luck with that. Yeah. Oh, what's a typical amount of words an 18-month-old should be saying? There is no typical amount of words. Some kids are talking really early. My son talked very early. My daughter was more average, I think, with that. But I know someone who didn't walk or talk till she was 3 years old, and then got up at full sentences and started running. She just decided, yeah, okay, I'm going to get up now. So yeah, there is no typical. There's some baseline stuff, but that's I'll tell you something funny. When you have your first kid, you can't wait for them to walk. With your second and third and whatever, you're like, please don't walk. Please don't. So much easier before they find their feet, because they're all feet and no brains. So yeah, don't worry about it. If you're really concerned, then go to a pediatrician. But there is no typical. They will tell you milestones, but milestones are just suggestions, really. Like my daughter, she was really spindly little newborn, like really spindly. And I took her in, I don't know when it was, her 3-week check, and she was still spindly. She barely gained any weight. And then the doctor said, and I wasn't concerned. I could just tell, I just knew she was healthy and that. And the doctor, they have to go by milestones. That's their job. They say, well, she should have gained this much and that. He saw her 2 weeks later and she was like a Buddha. She just blew up. So, these milestones can get you stressed out too sometimes. So I'm not saying to ignore them completely, but I kind of did. But I had a lot of experience with kids, though, before I had my own. But yeah, don't worry too much about all that stuff. Unless you're really concerned, then go to a doctor. What about helping a teen losing a sibling? That grief is a horrible thing, and it's something that should be talked about, but you don't force it. And that's very difficult. And I lost my dad when I was 14 years old, and I was the only one I knew who lost their dad. And I had to listen to other people complain about their fathers. Imagine what that. I was isolated. I lost my child. He got sick when I was 10. I lost my childhood completely. And then and other people were complaining about the stupidest things. And yeah, so yeah, I understand grief when you're forming. When you're a teenager, you're still forming. So I know a lot about grief because I went through it. It was horrendous. And still, I've been through a lot in my life. I've had a miscarriage. I've been divorced. Lost my beloved mother, who I adored. She was my best friend. But she was older, so it was a natural thing. But the toughest thing I ever experienced in my whole life was when my dad died when I was 14. Nothing's ever compared to that. Thank God. I mean, I'm sure things could, but nothing's really compared to that, just because I was still forming. So yeah, grief is something, it's very difficult, and they'll talk at their own pace. But don't try and pull them out talking. Anyway, if you want my help with that, you can hire me. I don't talk to kids anymore, but I teach you. I only talk to parents now. I used to talk to teens. How many times a day would you cook for a teen? I was more of a meal prep person. I had stuff in the fridge. Like right now, I got a fridge full of chopped up vegetables and I tend to empty stuff out of cans and put it in like beans, like chickpeas and all that. I'm vegan, by the way. I wasn't when my kids were young. But yeah, I just had a lot of stuff in the fridge that they can do themselves. So, but yeah. And then I cooked. I only cooked dinner. They got their own lunch and breakfast. So I only cook dinner. I hate cooking. But yeah, I only cook dinner. It's funny, both my kids love cooking. I love cleaning. I hate cooking. The best part of having people over for dinner is the cleanup, because I love cleaning. I love it when people come over and cook who love to cook, and then I get to clean up because I'm a really clean cook. I clean as I go. No one else is that clean when they cook. So they leave a horrendous mess in my kitchen and I get all excited. That's exciting to me. Cooking, ugh, cleaning, love it. So yeah, I only cook dinner for my teenagers. Okay, I'm pregnant with my first. How do I start off strong establishing my as a leadership? Okay, with a baby, you mom and baby happy and healthy. Don't worry about anything else. And then once they get about 1.5, usually 16 months is kind of a turning point. They kind of become toddlers around 16 months old when they're up and they're starting to get into more trouble and really they know they shouldn't be doing something and they're doing it anyway. And they get like that. But anyway. But yeah, child-proof your house so that you never have to say no to them. Do a toy rotation system so they're never bored. And when you play with them, you play like a toddler, play like a 16-month-old, play like a 10-month-old. Get in their world. The better you learn how to get into their world and connect with them in their world, not yours. You don't connect with a toddler at the nail salon. You connect with them in their world. They're looking at you differently. They just do. They look at you differently. I've worked with hundreds of kids, and lots of people have asked me how I connect with kids, and I say, well, I enter their world. And I never quite explain it, but they couldn't quite figure it out. But yeah, I watch them very carefully and I enter their world and they just look at you differently. So yeah, that's part of leadership is they feel understood. They feel a connection. They still love you if you don't enter their world, but this is a different thing, this leadership stuff. They just connect with you on a different level from a very young age. That's like when I used to work with children who were disabled. If they were I can't remember what they do, but just things like, they just hit their head or whatever, but they would have like protection on and that. So then they wouldn't even look at no eye contact. But if I started hitting my head when they were doing it, they would look at me and then I'd lose them again. But you know what I mean? It's connecting. But you don't expect them to find their inner adult. You find your inner 2-year-old or your inner 12-year-old or whatever. Connect with kids in their world. Oh, geez. Disciplining a child with a history of NAS. Yeah. Toddler has been, yeah, it is. NAS is narcotic addiction syndrome. I used to work with those babies or volunteer in a hospital with those babies. And I was told when I first held them, they were 6 weeks old before they could be held. And they told me, don't move. And you can't have them by your heart because that was upsetting to them. And don't look at them or talk. So I just hold them. And that was hard for them to be held. So, and then I saw them as they grew up too. So yeah, I understand that. It is just difficult. It just is. What they lack is impulse control. That is from what I understand, I'm not a professional. It's just, I'm heavily experience based, but I'm not a professional. But what I've found is I've worked with a lot of kids and teenagers who started out addicted and they lack impulse control. So what we do is we try and connect that with, like as soon as they start to feel like they might be doing something wrong, we connect it with something else. It could be even like an elastic on their wrist. We remind them, hey, wait a minute, stop and think here. Is it easy? Nope, it's not easy at all. But yeah, sorry about that. If you want my help, that's next level. You'd have to hire me for that. And we could figure out exactly what's going on and maybe find some coping skills or some ways around it. But yeah, NAS babies are, that's why I worked in the hospital or I volunteered in the hospital. I was there for 2 years. I was about 22 years old. And whenever they got young, it was the worst of the worst, like just horrendous injuries and that these children would never be out in the world. They were really, very, very sad states. But anyway, and you learn not to pity them. You learn what I did was they said, number one is don't come in here and pity them because you're never going to come back. So I didn't. I went in there and I just figured out how am I going to connect with this kid? And then it taught me a lot about connecting with all kids because if you can connect with these kids, and what I said was, they were under four and under was the area I worked in or volunteered in. And then I said, do they know who I am? And they said, yeah, they can get to know you. Yes. By the way, they can smell you and they can hear you and the way you touch them. And some of them were deaf, so couldn't see or hear you. But they said, that they trust you when they go limp when you pick them up, because most of them had shunts in their necks for fluid drainage, and it was uncomfortable when you pick them up. So, but when you scoop them up fast and you know what you're doing and they trust you, they go limp rather than stiffen like that. And I remember the first time one of those guys, I still remember his name. I remember the first time I picked up one of those little ones, and I picked them up and he just went like that. And his eyes rolled in the back of his head. He was comfortable with me. And I started crying and crying. So connecting. It's about connecting. You got to figure that out. You got to figure your kids out. And you do that by entering their world. God, I feel like I went on and on and on about, I don't even know what I was going on about there. Sorry about that. Okay, 4-year-old did great with behavior board. Now he is ramping up behavior again weeks after normal. Okay, because he's not testing you. He's thinking, okay, that was fun. Now we're going to go back to where we were when I was in charge. So it's got to be consistent. It takes 3 to 6 months really before it's cemented. At 4 years old, it's usually about 3 months, but you got to be consistent with it because they love, when they have a leader, it calms them down and they end up loving it. But he's still remembering the old you. You might have slip-ups that you're not aware of too. He's watching you. He's like, oh, there's the old you. We'll get that back. I'll be in charge again. That's what happens. But yeah, you just got to be consistent. Keep at it. It's work. It's like dieting or any habit change. And you're basically changing your personality. You're changing yourself. It's not about him. It's about you. It's hard. Yeah, I've slacked a few times. Yeah, he's been watching you. Yeah, he's been taking notes. Every time you do, he's like this. He's writing it down. Yeah, that's all. Toddler says you don't love me when you give direction. Yeah, just say, okay. Yeah, that's just trying to reel you in. If my kids had ever said, they never did. They never said, I hate you, you hate me, you don't love me, I don't love you. If they did, my mother would have done this too. If we'd tried that manipulation stuff, then my mother would have gone, whatever. And exactly what I would have done, whatever. Like, and then my kids would have gone, oh, never mind. Now, if they say something like that when they were on Dumbo at Disneyland, then you might want to worry about it. But when they say it just because they're not getting their own way, then you just go, whatever. Just ignore it. It's just manipulation. It's like with all the trolls online. Like the reason why they never bother me is because it's like, whatever. It's bad behavior is not something that can upset me because I've worked with kids for so many years. Like snotty behavior just doesn't bother me. Manipulation has no effect on me. So, but yeah, whatever. It's like that. At what age should I start correcting my son's behaviors? Okay, so I said if you've got a toddler that's under the age of 3 years old, it's consistent corrective actions. But 3 things that you really want to do that will help that and sort of set your life up to be a little bit easier. Childproof the whole house so you never have to say no to them. Do a toy rotation system. I've got lots of videos on that so that they're never bored. And then connect with them in their world. Okay, you play with them. Get down on the ground. Get lower than them. If they're playing blocks sitting up, you sit down lower. Lay down on an elbow and play like that. It just changes things. I know whenever I've worked with really difficult kids who just wouldn't listen to anything, I did that. I get right down on the ground and they'd look at you different. They just do. Anyway, so yeah, when they're really little, you can start correcting their behaviors. But those are 3 things that I'll start setting you up as a leader so their behaviors don't ever get out of control. How do I help my 7-year-old girl and 4-year-old boy be friends? She's so mean to him and jealous of him. This comes up a lot in coaching is sibling rivalry or kids fighting. And then parents will often say, I don't understand it because I spend so much time one-on-one with each of them. And I go, stop doing that because what's that doing for their relationship? They're jealous every time you go out with the other one. It's making things worse. What you want to do is when you're having fun with your kids, you play with them all together and it's nothing competitive and you play at the level of the youngest one. You play at the level of the weakest link. So you act out scenes, you do silly dances, you just have fun with them in a really silly way, but you play at the level of the youngest one and it's nothing competitive. I know I've had people who say, oh, well, we played Monopoly or something like that. Well, there's a winner there's one winner and all losers. I mean, where's the fun in that for the rest of the people? Monopoly is one of those games, first time around the board, you know who's going to win. Boring for everybody else. Like there's no chance. I don't care if I win or lose, but I want to be able to play, But yeah, make sure that you play as a group. Don't do one-on-one stuff. So they learn how to have fun together. You see, you're facilitating that. You're teaching them how to have fun together. Plus, there's jealousy when you do one-on-one stuff. Anyway, it's not that simple. If you want my help, you can hire me. I try that and just gets mad and refuses to play. Yeah, you're missing. There's other stuff going. You have to do other stuff around that too, right? Like I give you simple answers here on TikTok, but you got to start working on your leadership skills so they will do that sort of stuff with you. And it's a tone of voice too. I was coaching someone a while back and she goes, it didn't work. And I said, how did you say it? And she goes, well, I was thinking that we might all play And then we'll do this. And I'd say no too. Like it was just so wishy-washy. I would say, okay, game time, here's what's happening. And you'd have it all planned out and set up. So it's like just this, take control. And but yeah, you got to work towards that. If you want my help, again, hire me. I'm not saying you need to, but if you really want my help, the more extensive stuff, you have to hire me. Okay. How do I teach my toddler to share with other kids? I don't know. Toddlers don't understand sharing, so they just don't. I don't know how to teach that. They can sometimes do it, but it's a basic nature thing. They'll sometimes hand something over for fear of getting hit. They don't really understand sharing because they have no empathy. They don't even understand themselves. How can they understand sharing? Like it's just too much. You expect too much of them. Make sure that every kid has a toy. Like it would be like one pail and one shovel in the sand pit with two toddlers. Make sure they each have a pail and they each have a shovel. You got to manage the situation. 2-year-old learned a really bad word at daycare. How do I discourage him from saying it? I don't know. There's a million different things you can do, but basically I ignore that stuff, or I might replace it with another word that sounds similar. Like I might say, I don't want to say it in case you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I would just replace it with something else. And then when he says that, I go, yay. And he says the other, I'd just go like this. So you can try that. How do I play with my kids as a group when they're 5 years apart, 1-year-old and 6-year-old? Okay, 1-year-old's difficult, but it would be like dancing. You hold the 1-year-old when you're dancing. Okay, look up TikTok dances, just silly things that kids and parents do, but hold the 1-year-old. So they're part of it. My kids were 5 years apart. I don't want to go into it, but I often talk about this in coaching. What I used to do with my kids pretty much every single night, and we just had a blast. Yeah. I miss parenting so much. I miss those nights. We did it every night pretty much, and just goofiest stuff in the world. Crazy, but yeah. I gotta take a sip. My mouth's getting a little dry. I had a nap today. Do you ever have a nap in the afternoon? I do that from time to time. I get up really early and then I need a nap later on. So I never quite, and I haven't woken up. I feel like a cranky toddler. I haven't really woken up from my nap yet. I feel a little bit drugged. I think you already asked this one. I don't know who Barbara O'Neill is. If that's another parenting person, I never look up parenting. I don't know who else is out there. I've been asked to do panels where you discuss or you basically debate all your different parenting ideas. Why would I do that? I couldn't imagine sitting on a panel criticizing other parenting coaches. I couldn't fathom what would be the point in that. It would be like a bunch of dieting experts arguing about their diets. Why would you do that? Yeah, I don't know. It's just not my style. But anyway, almost 3-year-old is very emotional, cries when he has any correction. How to help him? Well, I'm assuming you're doing it right. So when you correct him, you're doing it right. You're being fair and reasonable and you're consistent. So you're doing it right. And then he cries. That's really none of your business. Like what I mean by that, that's his brain processing. I'm not going to get what I want, when I want, and how I want it. He's learning that he's not always going to get his own way. He's learning self-discipline. If you're interrupting and trying to self-regulate, which is such a trendy thing right now, it's just crap. Anyway, if you're trying to do that, you're interrupting his process. You're slowing it down. So let him learn. Hey, wait a minute. I'm not going to get everything I want. If I'd acted out and my mother was there, she would have just gone, kidding me, and just ignored me. And I would have been embarrassed to act out. Like, because she just pointed out how silly it was. And it just, yeah. What are some consequences for adults and 3-year-olds in the behavior part? Just behavior chart. Look it up. I've got lots of examples on there. I love your advice. It's calms my mind from always thinking I'm dropping the ball. Yeah, I never get a parent who thinks they're doing a great job when people hire me. Um, oh, a health guru. Not, oh, I should look her up. I love health stuff. My whole life revolves around health and fitness. I love it. Barbara, what's her name? Barbara. Oh, like, O'Neill. Well, look her up. I love healthy stuff. Barbara O'Neill. Yeah, never heard of her. I know sometimes people, because I'm in my 60s now, I work out every day. I look after myself. And sometimes people say, how do you do it? Like, what do you do? And then when I tell them, they go, oh, never mind. Like it's a lifestyle. It's not like you just for an hour a day, you're healthy. It's your whole life. When you get in your tell you what, when you hit your 50s, that's when life catches up with you. I've always been really into health and fitness, and I noticed a divide at around 50. People who didn't look after themselves, they just start to age differently. And I work really, really hard at it, but I love it. It's a lifestyle. But yeah, whenever I tell people what I do, they lose interest really quickly. So I don't talk about it much. It's just boring to most people. Can't wait to check her out. Okay. Okay, did the first week of behavior board, it's going well. Excellent. Are you making mistakes? You got to make sure you mess up so the kids see you being accountable too. My kids loved it when I messed up. Every time I'd mess up, they'd look at each other like this. And I'm like, phooey. They loved it because I was very accountable. We never had a behavior board, but they knew I was accountable. Okay, how do you suggest we deal with kids not being disciplined at home? What do you mean? Are you a teacher? I don't teach. I don't know anything about teaching. Huge portion of my clients are teachers, but it's a different thing. I couldn't teach. It's different. Do you believe that adults have an inner child? Well, because we do, because we were one. Yes, I do. I do think we all have that inner innocence in us. We just cover it up. I'm very in touch with that. I often call myself a goofball. I always say I'm a 62-year-old toddler. And my daughter says, actually, you're not, because I've always been the responsible one. When we were younger, I was always the one that people handed their keys to when we were out partying. Oh, Lisa will drive. I was always the mother, right? But I'm very goofy and very inner child, like I know my inner child. My daughter said, she goes, no, you just have a sense of wonder. I get really excited by things, that inner child. We tend to squash that as we get older. I never did. I still get really excited by stuff and want to explore it and want to meet new people and do different things. I think as you get older, you get more set in your ways. But because I talk about kids so much and I've spent so many decades around kids, I never really lost that. Maybe that's why I connect with kids, because I was that way anyway. I never really lost that. But yeah, I do believe we all have an inner child, for sure. I can tell you, I know for a fact we all do, but I don't want to get into it because people will dispute that because it's more of a medical research kind of thing. But I really do believe we all have that for sure. You just got to find it. Now, my whole life revolves around health and fitness. I love health stuff, respect. Yeah. It's a lifestyle. That's why no one wants to do it. Plus, someone said to me a while back, they said, well, don't you ever just want something delicious, like food-wise? And I said, what do you mean? Like, because food to me is health first, then taste. And I've never been disappointed. If it's not healthy, I don't enjoy it, except potato chips. Once a month or once every 2 months, I'll have a big family-sized bag of potato chips and just gnaw through the whole thing like a wood chipper. Like I'm just bizarre. And and then I'll pay for it. I don't feel well after that. But yeah. Can you explain your coaching sessions? I'm very interested in okay, coaching is 1 hour a week usually. It's never sooner than that. Unless you're in crisis, then it's, can sometimes be pretty much every day. But it might just be like 15 minutes a day. That's only crisis work if you've got a teen on the edge. But generally it's just an hour a week, or then we can stretch it out if things are going really well. And it's all done on Zoom and it's only the parents. And sometimes I'm just talking people off the ledge because they're just so stressed out over parenting. But we get a plan of action and then you follow through. And I'll decide what we put on that behavior board and we'll work it all out. And then you work on a behavior board, a new one each week. Generally, that's how it goes. Depends on what you're dealing with. If I'm dealing with parents with disabled children or with autism or children who've been abused and all that, that more difficult stuff, then we don't even use the behavior board. So, but that's usually where we start. And we just talk about your journey. We don't talk a lot about what you've been doing because we're moving forward. We're not, it's like going to a diet center and talking about how you gained weight. We don't do that. We talk about how we're going to lose it. It's like I'm all solution based. So, and there's no judgment and at all. Like we're going to laugh at the dumb things you do because we all do them. We all make mistakes. You're going to make lots of mistakes. That's how you're going to learn. So yeah, sometimes parents say, you won't believe what I did. And I go, yeah, I will. So they'll tell me and we'll laugh and then we'll say, yeah, we all make mistakes. Life's messy. We learn from them. That's how you learn. You learn through making mistakes. It's not about life's messy. But once you start getting better at it, like once you start feeling that power where you start to feel, oh, I'm getting confident now. I get it. Then you see the results really start to kick in. Usually 3 to 6 weeks is when you really notice it. The first week or two can be difficult. Oh, sorry. Oh, you were answering someone else. Okay, that's why I was confused. Oh, how much does it cost? Coaching is different prices for different packages. So just look up above. It's in the link. And you can just sign up online and then I'll get back to you within 24 hours with all the form. You have to fill out some forms. Okay. How do you stop boys from dirty talk 8 and 5? So they're saying, I just say no bad words. Okay. And every time they do, there's a consequence. So no bad words is what I would put down on the behavior board. Behavior board's free up in the link above there. Why are 4-year-olds so fresh? They're not all fresh. No, they're not. So, yeah. Uh, what about 2 boys always picking on each other? Usually I do separation, but there's so many different methods of dealing with that. Depends on the age, depends on your house, literally how your house is set up, depends on what's worked and what hasn't in the past. So I would have to figure that out. There's too many different methods. I don't know the ages. Are they actually fighting or just picking at each other? So yeah, usually it's about separation. And you have times of the day where you say you're not allowed to see each other. So literally you're separating them. They start to miss each other. And it's a system. You got to set it. You got to get organized with this stuff and you got to follow through with it. So you got to be very careful how you decide to do it. Because if you set up a system and then you don't follow through, they're not going to trust you the next time. So it's got to be one that you can make happen. Okay. 4-year-old spits and talks back and all that. That just says that you do not have their respect. That's all. Work on yourself. Remember, we're never fixed kids. We're teaching parenting here. We're teaching parents. Kids, there's nothing wrong with kids. They're just reacting to your parenting. 100% of their behavior is your parenting. They're reacting to your parenting, your lack of leadership or your leadership. That's what it is. Their basic personality, their basic nature they're born with, but their behavior is all you. So you can only change yourself anyway. So that's the good news. You lead, they will follow. So that just says you got to work on your leadership skills. Do you have parenting book recommendations? I've never read one. I'm just experience-based. Kids taught me all this. I've never read a book on parenting or kids or anything. I was going to be a child psychologist. I took one course and they kicked me out because I asked too many questions. God, it was stupid. It was about 40 years ago, and I'm sure it's improved since then, but it was all this holier than thou, trying to outsmart kids. It was just garbage. It was so patronizing. Anyway, they couldn't get rid of me fast enough. I should have held out. They could have paid me double. They probably would have paid me thousands just to get rid of me because the other students were asking me questions instead of the teacher. They hated me. That was great. That's why I never became a child psychologist. I could never do that. Then I'd be under that umbrella. I would have been restricted. Plus, then I would have been learning from in school. I was out learning from kids. Okay. How to help my 5-year-old from getting so frustrated when he fails at something? Well, I always taught my kids that failure is the road to success. If you're not failing, you're not learning, you're not growing. So, I taught them to try and work and do their best. But then if they failed, I'd go, good for you for trying so hard. I'd rather them try and fail than not try and succeed. So, yeah. So maybe you're making too big of a deal out of the wins. Yeah, my mom always raved about my brother and I. You're such good sports. And I could never figure out why she thought that was such a big deal. I'm going to close that soon. Anyway, you're such good sports. She was so proud of that because she hated a sore loser. It really annoyed her. And she just thought it was petty. And but what she used to do with us is she always praised how well we played, never that we won or lost. Like my brother and I, we play hard, but we don't care if we win or not. We'd rather play hard and lose. It would drive me nuts to just, if winning was easy, I wouldn't like that. I'd rather lose and have to try. So yeah, focus more on the playing and the trying and make failure. Hey, good for you for trying. And success is paved with failures. It's just the way it is. And this is really true. If you're not failing in life, you're not trying hard enough. It's true. Think about it. If you only do things that you can do well, you're not learning a thing. Nothing. So yeah. How many kids do you have to know? Oh, my kids didn't teach me much. I only have 2 kids because I already knew how to do all this before I had my own kids. I got their respect when they were tiny and sailed right through the teen years. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old, and I was always just good at. They used to ask me, "How do you do that?" Like the kids were so good for me; they love me. And babysitting, I was the one that the parents used to fight over. So yeah, I just always kind of had a way about this, and then I started volunteering in schools, and then I got some qualifications to volunteer in homes when parents were struggling. And then the pièce de résistance, the PhD, was mentoring troubled teens. They told me, you got to teach this, Lisa. So, because they said they'd never had anyone talk to them the way I did. And they said, you have to teach this. So they're the ones who basically inspired me to start my business. I think I was just kind of meant to do this. But I was paying attention to kids. I was paying attention. And whenever experts would start talking about how to deal with kids, I rarely ever agreed with them. I had a very different way of looking at it all. I let the kids teach me. My goal was always to build kids up and make them like themselves. And when they did, and I was the source of that, they wanted to please me. That's that mutual respect. So that was always what I did. I didn't want them to be impressed by me. I wanted them to feel good about themselves when they're with me. So why would they act out if they like themselves when they're with you, right? That's what I did. I have some of my clients are child psychologists, and they want to know more about all that. And I have a few stories I tell them and how I learned that, and always with troubled teens. When you get frustrated or irritated with your children, what mechanisms do you remain calm? Okay, it's easy to be calm when you know what to do. Okay, just start educating yourself on all. If you like my stuff, then just start. I have a whole course on how to get respect. Just start following me more. When you know what to do, it's easy to be calm. It's like anything, any problem solved, everything's figure outable. Like that's why I love what I do. Sometimes when I'm working with parents with teenagers, it takes me a minute. I love that. I get excited because that's a challenge, right? So, but I can always come up with something. So, but yeah, the more you know, the calmer you get. So just keep working. It takes work. I've been doing this now for 51 years. Like I've been working with kids for 51 years now. So I would say I was probably 20 or 30 years in before I started teaching this. 35 years in or whatever. It takes that long to figure all this out too. I think it takes a long time to figure all this out. I'm old. Okay. Should a grandma sign them up for early education, or is that too much? Early education? I don't like accelerated learning. Don't even get me started on that. I've become a nanny. It was a major change for me. You've become a tremendous help. Oh, excellent. I'm glad. Nanny is not parenting, but it's a nurturing position, and it's personal. It's not like teaching. Teaching is an institution. It's not as personal. Okay, I got to go because the sun's coming in. I have to keep leaning forward to get away from the sun. Anyway, and plus it's been over an hour now, so I got to go. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and check above, see if you want to hire me, buy a course, or download my free behavior board. It's all in the link above, and I'll be back again tomorrow. Take care. Bye now.